Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're going to do something a little different. I want you to imagine we are stepping into a time machine.
Okay.
We're dialing the date forward just a little bit, specifically to January 2026. And we're standing in the snowy streets of Davos, Switzerland.
Davos. So the World Economic Forum, it's a very specific setting for what is, a pretty stark reality check.
It really is.
We're unpacking this report, the Diffusion Imperative, which gives us a snapshot of AI at the start of 2026. And the mood, it is so different from the party atmosphere of 2023 or 24.
Oh, I remember 2023. That was the year of magical thinking, right?
Right.
Everyone was convinced AI would solve world hunger and, I don't know, write our novels for us by Tuesday.
It was just unbridled optimism. But this report, it describes the mood in 2026 as a sobering recalibration. The party's over, and now the bill has arrived.
And the person holding the bill is, kind of ironically, Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella.
Which is wild when you think about it. He basically threw the party.
Right. But here he is in 2026, giving this speech, warning that the whole AI boom risks becoming a speculative bubble. He says unless it achieves wider adoption outside of just the tech hubs, the whole thing could top.
It's a huge statement, and that right there, that sets up the mission for this deep dive. Hype versus reality. We aren't looking at what AI might do anymore. We've got hard data on what it's actually doing.
And there's this one number that's keeping everyone at Davos up at night. The revenue gap.
The $300 billion problem.
Let's get into this, because the math is honestly a little terrifying for anyone, holding tech stocks.
It is the mathematical definition of a bubble. So let's start with what they call the CapEx supercycle.
Okay.
This is all the money the big tech companies are spending to build data centers, to buy those NVIDIA GPUs. The annual run rate is over $300 billion.
$300 billion just going out the door to build the infrastructure.
Correct. Now, there's this rule of thumb in the software industry, according to Sequoia Capital. To justify that kind of hardware spending, the software ecosystem on top of it needs to generate roughly double that in revenue.
So if they spend $300 billion, they need to be making, what, $600 billion back?
Precisely. That is the target.
Yeah.
But the reality check, as of early 2026, is that the actual realized revenue is only about $294 billion.
Wait, hold on. Let me just do the math here. We need 600. We have just under 300, so we're missing more than half.
We are missing $306 billion. It's a massive crater in the balance sheet. And the thing is, this isn't just a missed quarterly target.
Right.
The money's already spent. The data centers are built. The chips are running. But the customers aren't showing up with their wallets fast enough.
And unlike software, which can just sit there forever, these chips have a shelf life, don't they?
That's the ticking clock part of it. A GPU isn't like land, it depreciates. It has a useful life of maybe, 3 to 5 years before it's obsolete?
So every day that $300 billion gap exists, that hardware is just burning value.
It creates immense pressure to find real utility and find it now.
That explains the panic at Davos. But I feel like I see AI everywhere. My email has it, my documents have it. So how is the revenue lagging so far behind if adoption feels so widespread?
That brings us to this classic economic concept, the Solow paradox.
I remember this. You can see the computer age everywhere but in the productivity statistics.
Exactly the same thing is happening with AI in 2026. The data in this report from McKinsey is, it's brutal. It says 88% of companies claim they use AI.
Okay, so that matches my feeling. It feels like it's everywhere.
But, and this is the big, but only 39% say it's had any actual impact on their earnings, their EBIT.
That is a massive disconnect. Everyone's using it, but less than half are making any money from it.
And even for most of them, it's contributing less than 5% to the bottom line. It's a nice to have, not a must have.
Why, though? I remember the sales pitch. Every employee gets a co-pilot, productivity will skyrocket. What happened?
Well, let's look at the biggest flop the report identifies, the chatbots. Specifically, Microsoft 365 Copilot. This was supposed to be the killer app.
The $30 a month assistant for everyone.
Yep. But the conversion rate is just hovering around 1.8%. That's about 8 million paid seats out of 440 million users.
1.8%. That's basically a rounding error. I use these tools, and they do write emails faster. Why is adoption stalling out so hard?
Because of something the report calls the check your work tax.
The check your work tax. I love that term.
You know the feeling, right? The AI speeds up the drafting. It spits out a memo in 5 seconds. But because of hallucinations...
Or it just makes stuff up.
Exactly. You then have to spend the next 20 minutes verifying every single fact.
Oh, totally. I've been there staring at a summary thinking, Did our Q3 revenue actually go up, or are you just saying that, and then I just opened the original document anyway?
So you save 5 minutes writing, but spend 20 minutes fact-checking. Have you saved any time? No. You've just shifted the labor from creation to verification.
And verification is more draining mentally.
It is, and there's another barrier, security friction. A Gartner report mentioned 47% of IT leaders are terrified of permission debt.
Permission debt. What's that?
Imagine you roll out an AI that can search every file in your company. Suddenly, it finds a strategy memo the CEO wrote 3 years ago that was technically public on the server, but nobody knew where to find it.
Oh, so an intern can ask, what are the plans for layoffs? And the AI just pulls up the CEO's draft folder.
Bingo. So IT departments just slammed on the brakes. They realized they had to clean up years of messy data permissions first.
But to be fair, not all copilots are failing. The report draws a really sharp contrast with GitHub Copilot.
Yes, and this is so crucial. GitHub Copilot has 90% adoption in the Fortune 100. It has 20 million users. Coders absolutely love it.
Okay, so why do coders love it when office workers are just sort of shrugging?
Because code is a deterministic environment. It either works or doesn't. It's binary. You get immediate feedback. If the AI writes bad code, the compiler yells at you.
Right. But if an AI writes a kind of weird email, it doesn't crash. It just makes you look awkward to your boss.
Exactly. AI thrives in rules-based systems, and it really struggles with the nuance of human ambiguity.
So the general magic of chatbots is hitting a wall. But the industry isn't giving up. They're pivoting. So what's the fix for this massive revenue gap?
The pivot is from chatbots to agentic AI.
Agents. I hear that buzzword constantly. Is it just rebranding, or is it actually different?
No, it's a fundamental shift. A chatbot is passive. It waits for you to ask it something. An agent is autonomous. You give it a goal, and it goes off and does it.
So it moves from help me write to do this work.
That's the value proposition. Let's look at insurance. The report highlights companies like Allianz and Zurich. They're not just using AI to summarize claims.
So they do.
They're using agents to handle the entire claim end-to-end. For simple things, anyway.
Like with no human involved.
Yeah, for things like food spoilage from a power outage or a crack in your windshield. You upload a photo, the agent verifies the damage, checks your policy, approves the claim, and starts the bank transfer.
So it's not just talking, it's pushing buttons, it's executing tasks.
Right. It took processing time from days down to hours. And that's why the revenue model works. You're not selling a helper for $30 a month. You're selling the completion of actual labor.
That makes sense. I'd pay way more for something that actually fixes my problem than something that just chats with me about it.
Another great example is in the supply chain with these orchestrator agents. Instead of just predicting a shipment will be late, the agent actively reroutes it.
How does it do that?
It checks inventory at other warehouses, finds a new shipping route, books the truck, and gets the goods moving. It bridges the gap between data and decision.
And that all leads to the second big theme of 2026, which is firm sovereignty. This was my favorite concept in the report.
It's a big one. Nadella's point is that right now, most companies are just renting a brain from OpenAI or Google.
Sending data out via an API, getting an answer back.
Right. But he says if you don't embed your own tacit knowledge into model weights that you control, you have no sovereignty. You're just renting intelligence.
So your company's secret sauce needs to be baked into the AI itself.
Exactly. And Walmart is the poster child for this. They realized they didn't want a generic brain, so they built Wallaby.
Wallaby.
It's a model trained specifically on decades of Walmart data. So a generic model knows what a tint is. But Wallaby understands Walmart's supply chain, their return policies, all that context.
So it knows the difference between a tent being returned in summer versus winter.
Precisely. And they're using it in the physical stores, too, with augmented reality.
This is the part that feels like sci-fi.
An associate in the back room puts on a headset, looks at a wall of boxes, and the AI overlays data on them.
Like a video game HUD.
Just like that. It highlights in green the exact boxes that need to move to the sales floor right now based on real-time sales velocity. It's not about writing a poem about a tent, it's about getting the tent on the shelf.
Which is practical. It solves a real problem. Now we have to talk about finance. They usually have the money to experiment.
And they are deep in it. JP Morgan has indexed GPT for stock picking. But the really big lesson came from Bloomberg.
Bloomberg GPT.
Really?
I remember the headlines.
They spent millions building a massive model from scratch. But by 2026, the industry realized something important.
What's that?
Fine-tuning a good open-source model works just as well for a fraction of the
Let's
cost.
see, you don't need to build the whole brain. You can just take a generic one and teach it finance.
Exactly. And that's shifting capital away from these massive, expensive training runs. But the most striking story in finance, and honestly the one that makes me a little uneasy, is Klarna.
Yeah, this one made some waves.
This is the starkest example of efficiency versus displacement. Klarna reported their AI assistant is doing the work of, get this, between 700 and 853 full-time agents.
That's a staggering number, almost 1,000 people's worth of work.
It is. And from a business perspective, the numbers are undeniable. Resolution time dropped from 11 minutes to 2 minutes. They saw a $60 million profit improvement.
But what happened to the people?
Well, their headcount was reduced from about 5,000 down to 2,000.
Wow.
They claim it was mostly through attrition and hiring freezes, not mass firings. But the net result is the same. Those 3,000 jobs are gone. They are not coming back.
It's the hollowing out of the labor market we always talk about.
Yeah.
It feels like the ladder is losing its bottom rungs.
That is the structural challenge for the next decade, for sure.
But okay, before we get too depressed, I want to pivot.
Yeah.
Because we said we'd look at the reality.
Mm.
And while chatbots are struggling, there is one sector where AI is doing things humans literally cannot do.
This is the ultimate counterweight to the doom and gloom. The report calls it biological reality. We're moving from bits and bytes to atoms and cells.
So if 2026 is the year we realized AI is kind of bad writer.
It's also the year we proved it's an incredible scientist. The report highlights in silico medicine, they developed a drug entirely with AI.
For what condition?
For something called idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, or IPF. And this isn't just a simulation. They have positive phase EA clinical trial results.
So real humans took this AI-designed drug and it actually improved their lung function.
Exactly. This is biological proof. This is tangible value that goes way beyond a monthly subscription fee.
And then you've got Google DeepMind's AlphaFold 3.
Which is now basically digital biology infrastructure. It's simulating how proteins and DNA interact, cutting failure rates in the lab. This is where the real value is going to come from long-term, not writing emails, but curing diseases.
It seems like the hype was about AI imitating humans, but the reality is about AI exceeding humans in these very specific, complex tasks.
That's a perfect way to put it. And that brings us to the tech shift itself, because for a while, the race was just make the model bigger. But 2026 is the year of the small language model.
Small is the new big. I like the analogy they used. You don't use a Ferrari to deliver a pizza.
Right. If you just need to summarize a meeting, using GPT-5 is like burning money. It's total overkill.
So companies are right-sizing.
Exactly. We're seeing the rise of models like Microsoft's Phi 3 and Meta's Llama 3.8b. They're small, efficient, and cheap.
And there's a privacy angle here too, isn't there? We talked about that permission debt.
Huge. These small models can run on-device, on your laptop, or on a local server. They don't have to call home to the mothership.
Which plays right into that sovereignty angle. European data can stay in Europe.
It's technology becoming boring but useful, like electricity. You don't need a lightning bolt. You just need enough current to make your toast.
I do want to circle back to the labor market one more time. We
Wow.
talked about Klarna, but the report also mentions Duolingo.
Right. Duolingo cut 10% of its contractors, and they were really explicit about why. They said that work that AI can handle, like translation and content generation, is no longer being outsourced.
That feels like the collapse of a whole tier of the gig economy.
It is. Junior tasks are disappearing, and this leads to what the report calls disguised displacement.
Disguised displacement.
It means companies aren't always firing people. They just stop hiring. The team stays at 10 people instead of growing to 15, even as the company doubles in size.
So the jobs aren't being destroyed, they are just never being created in the first place.
Exactly. And that's invisible in the unemployment stats for a while.
That is a sobering thought. Okay, so let's wrap this all up. We started with Nadella's warning about a bubble. We looked at the $300 billion hole. What's the final verdict?
I think Nadella was right. The general magic bubble, the idea that AI will do everything for everyone, is deflating. The chatbots disappointed us.
But the specific utility era is just starting.
Exactly. That revenue gap is dangerous. Some companies will go bust. But for the ones that achieve sovereignty, the ones that own their models and use agents to do real work, for them, the revolution is very, very real.
So it's not about having a chat, it's about getting work done.
The revenue will follow the utility. It always does.
I want to leave our listeners with one thought that really stuck with me. It's about that idea of sovereignty. Think about this for your own business. If your company relies entirely on an external AI model for its decision-making, does your company actually have any value left?
Or have you just outsourced your brain? That's the existential question of the decade. If you don't own the weights, you don't own the intelligence.
Something to think about. Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one.